streaming. Councillors, staff, members of the public, I declare open this special meeting of council, which has the purpose of adoption of the budget for 2023-2024. We have the City of Busselton acknowledges Wadandi and Pilbara people as traditional custodians of this region, pays respects to elders past and present. This meeting will be audio recorded for minute-taking purposes and will also be live streamed on the City of Busselton YouTube channel. The purpose of this meeting is to adopt the 2023-2024 City of Busselton annual budget and reaffirm the fees and charges for the 2023-2024 financial year. In attendance, we have approved leaves of absence for Councillor Sue Riccelli and Councillor Michaela Love, and we have Councillor Anne Ryan attending remotely. We have received disclosures of financial proximity interests. I have declared one, as has Deputy Mayor Councillor Paul Carter and Councillor Phil Cronin, in relation to item 6.1, adoption of the 2023-24 annual budget. In accordance with Regulation 22 of the Local Government Model Code of Conduct Regulations 2021, these declarations will be read out immediately before this item is discussed. There are no members of the public here, nor question time, nor presentations by parties with an interest. Item 6.1, Officer Recommendation 1 will be considered in 5 parts to cater for the disclosures of interests. Officer Recommendation 1, Part 1, is that Council, in accordance with Section 6.36, brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1995, notes that no formal submissions were received in response to the local public notice of the proposed differential rates to apply for the 2023-24 financial year. Do I have a mover for the Officer Recommendation 1, Part 1 as written? Moved Councillor Carter, seconded Councillor Cronin. Is there any opposition? There's not. I put the motion. Those in favour? Is carried 6-0, absolute majority achieved. Sorry, 7-0, I do apologise. 7-0, absolute majority achieved. Officer Recommendation 1, Part 2 requires an absolute majority. I will now read my disclosure of interest. I declare a financial proximity interest in item 6.1, adoption of the 2023-24 annual budget, Recommendation 1, and specifically item 14909, Lou Weston Basketball System Upgrade Project, and item 14917, Lou Weston Playground Renewal Project, as the location of these projects is at Lou Weston Oval, directly adjacent to my property at 8 Swan Street, West Busselton. Given this interest, I will leave the meeting while this item is being considered.
Can I just have a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor? You said during the recording 14917. Is that right, or is it in the running sheet it says 14914?
I've got 2 different numbers here. I'll seek some clarification.
It's 14914.
914. Sorry, there was a typo. So in my declaration, item 14914 for clarification, Lou Weston Playground Renewal Project. That is the correct number.
Thank you, councillors. Do I have a mover of Officer Recommendation 1, Part 2 as written? Moved Councillor Richards, seconded Councillor Cox. Do we have any opposition? No, there being no opposition, I put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried 6-0. Absolutely majority achieved. Mr Mayor, just informing you that the motion was carried 6-0 with an absolute majority achieved.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. We now move on to Officer Recommendation 1, Part 3. I now invite Councillor Carter to read your disclosure before we consider that the Council adopts project item 14850 Cook Street Asphalt Overlay listed in the Capital Acquisition and Construction Budget of Attachment 1 of the 2023-24 Annual Budget.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I declare a financial proximity interest in item 6.1, adoption of the 2023-24 Annual Budget. Recommendation 1, as specifically project item 14850, the Cook Street Asphalt Overlay listed in Capital Acquisition and Construction Budget, contained in Attachment 1, as the proposed land Cook Street is part of a thoroughfare that has a common property with land which my employer has interest in, being our office premises, and my employer is a closely associated person to me. Given this, I will leave the meeting while this item is being considered.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Do I have a move for the Officer Recommendation 1, Part 3 as written? Moved Councillor Payne, seconded Councillor Cronin. Is there any opposition? If not, I put the motion. Those in favour? Is carried at 6-0, absolute majority achieved. Please ask Councillor Carter to re-enter the meeting. Councillor Carter, in relation to Officer Recommendation 1, Part 3, was carried 6-0, absolute majority achieved. Officer Recommendation 1, Part 4 is that the Council adopts project item 14869 Silverwood Road unsealed resheet listed in the Capital Acquisition Construction Budget of Attachment 1 of the 2023-24 Annual Budget. I now invite Councillor Cronin to read your disclosure.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare a financial proximity interest in item 6.1, adoption of the 23-24 Annual Budget, Recommendation 1, and specifically the project item 14869, Silverwood Road unsealed resheet listed in the Capital Acquisition and Construction Budget contained in Attachment 1. As the proposed land, Silverwood Road, is part of a thoroughfare that has common boundary with my own land, which is on Silverwood Road. Given this interest, I will leave the meeting while this item is being considered.
Thank you, Councillor Cronin. Councillors, do I have a move for Officer Recommendation 1, Part 4 as written? Move Councillor Cox. Is there a seconder? Councillor Carter. Is there any opposition? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried 6-0, absolute majority achieved. Please invite Councillor Cronin to re-enter. Councillor Cronin, Officer Recommendation 1, Part 4 was carried 6-0, absolute majority achieved. Councillors, Officer Recommendation 1, Part 5. Is the remainder of the budget with 3 exclusions, noting the statutory budget will be adjusted accordingly. Do I have a mover for the Officer Recommendation 1, Part 5 as written? Move Councillor Richards, second Councillor Carter. Is there any opposition? If not, I put the motion. Those in favour? Is carried 6-0, 7-0, absolute majority achieved. I now move officer recommendation 2. Is there a mover for the officer recommendation as written? Moved councillor Cronin, seconded councillor Richards. Is there any opposition? If not, I put the motion. Those in favour? This carried 7-0. Absolute majority achieved. With that and the business of the meeting having been completed, I declare this meeting closed and thank you all for your attendances.